these little things that stick out the back are the targets for the inverse kinematics. And if you don't know what that is, I'll show you in just a moment. In fact, maybe Brad could tell us what inverse kinematics is.
Well, it'd be better if I could demonstrate, but if you could all just imagine, okay, you're a puppet, okay?
Stand up and
think about.
And I'll demonstrate. I'll help you in just a minute.
I need someone to be my puppet.
I'll be the puppet.
All right. Okay. FK means that let's say he has an armature in him. Let's say I'm going to pose him right now. I'm going to have him reaching forward for something. Okay. Let's say this. I'll do it. Okay. So I'm going to grab his hand. I'm going to grab his elbow. Okay. I want to bend that much, and then I'm going to push that down. Oh, I have to push it forward. No, I have to move that over. I want him to tip his hand up. His hand. There we go. All right. Oh wait, I want to lean him forward a little bit. Crap, I gotta go back. Move this up. Move that. I'll put the hand right there, and maybe a little twist. Oh jeez. Okay. So that's FK. That's where you have to move every back to your base position. Where you have to move every bone and every joint individually.
So everything's connected, but you start from the center and work outward.
That would be the smart way to go. And there are times when you want to do that. For the most part, though, you want your character to act more like a real puppet, where I'm going to grab his arm, and I'm just going to put it, and it's going to pull other parts of his body along. I don't want IK on his spine. So let's say, pull his spine a little bit. Let's say then I can manipulate his spine a little bit, bend this bit, but his hand stays there. His hand stays there. And it's absolutely essential for walking, because feet have to stay planted while the body moves forward. So if I just have FK feet, and I move the body forward, and then or move the foot forward, and then move the rest of the body, well, the foot's going to slide forward as well. So I need the feet to be sticky. So when I put the foot down and move the body forward, the feet stay.
What does FK stand for?
Forward kinematics. Inverse kinematics, or inverted, and or how do I do?
Very nice. Thank you.
If it isn't set up properly and you take the hand and say, I want to put the hand here, everything else up the chain will stay there, and your wrist will get this long, and the hand will go over here, and it'll look really funny. And if you watch like the outtakes on the Shrek movies, they're constantly exploding, or their eyeballs are flying out of their heads on stalks, and that's when they didn't have it boned correctly. So instead of going rotate here, rotate here, rotate here, and like you demonstrated, take this point and everything will follow naturally within the limits that you put on each of these joints, so you can't fold it on itself or wrap my arm behind me and break my elbow, or have Polly start poking out the back of the elbow. So you can set normal ranges depending on your character, if it's a squid or a human being or a tank or what have you.
Yeah, rigging is very technical, especially when you're rigging things like machines. Or in Pixar movies, they use virtually the same rig for every character, and then they just modify the mesh a little bit to make secondary characters.
So it's a full-time job in certain circles.
And after we've seen that now we can take a look at this. See how this guy, the legs, I've got IK legs on now. And we can move the leg, and like you said, move the spine, and that leg stays where it is. Does that
Impressive.
kind of make sense? So now we've got IK legs, we have a character. And let's see, now we need to tell the mesh of the character what bone is going to control what part of the character. So this bone here should only control this part of the mesh on his arm, and this bone here should only control the body. So how do we do that? A little thing called weight picking. And first though, what I need to do is apply a modifier to the mesh. Say that we want to use an armature. Okay. So now, what I'm going to do is the way you tell Blender what bone you want it to use is you actually paint on the mesh with this little weight. And blue is no effect at all. Red is completely complete control. So I've selected this center bone here, and now I'm just going to paint the influence of that bone directly on the mesh. So anywhere it's red, that bone is going to control the mesh completely.
So there's no auto assignment with that at all?
No, not the way, let's put it this way, not the way I'm doing it. You can use what's called envelopes and adjust, each bone has an envelope of influence, and you can set Blender to show you that envelope of influence, and then you can increase and decrease that envelope to cover the parts of the body that you want to influence. I'm doing this because I thought it'd be a little bit better. People could get it a little better, and the enveloping is never perfect. Well, neither is this, but you've got a little more control.
Yeah, enveloping just does a numerical distance away from the bone, right?
Yes.
And you're stuck with that. Whereas here you're assigning weights for the bone to specific vertices. You can pick and choose.
Once you envelope, you could go back. Did you see what I did? I accidentally got the foot in there. If I would have kept that, this hand bone would have deformed the foot every time I moved the hand. So we don't want that. I didn't build the mesh real well, so it's going to leave up. That's fine.
So for that hand bone, you're getting a little bit of a rest in that so it doesn't just fall over.
Right, and in this particular animation, I'm not going to be really moving the hand, so I'm not too upset about it. But yes, what you can do is you've got a lot of tools here to add, subtract vertices, to paint with full or half influence or a quarter. You've got a lot of tools here to then finesse that.
So for example, with the wrist, you have the hand bone and the forearm bone, sort of, it gets somewhat control the polygons of the wrist and sort of take an average.
Right. And that's probably the best, is to have a couple of cuts, a couple of loops in the mesh right at each joint, so you can make each of the loops of vertices from 100 to 50 to 25, and then for this bone from 100 to 50 to 25% influence. And as I say, this is it's a very technical thing that I'm attempting to do in in a few minutes. You know, people make entire careers out of rigging characters. So, but we're almost there. The good thing is I'm doing this in x-axis mirror, so when I do one bone, I do the other one. So we're almost there.
Has this been around long enough for people who have made entire careers out of it already?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. For rigging, for video games, for films, very definitely. It is it's a science, I would say. All right, so we're almost there. So. Now, the fun thing is to see how you did it. Because now what you can do is you can go into pose mode for the rig. And I'm going to switch to what what Blender calls the action editor, but everybody else calls a dope sheet. Select everything. And I'm going to give everything a keyframe. And here's all the bones. Now that I've made keyframes on frame number 1 for them. And what let's do, just do a little organizing real quick.
So I expected to see a tree hierarchy when I don't.
It's true. You can. See here. So now you've got your tree hierarchy of your one bone is the child of the next bone is the child of the next bone in the screen here.
Is that like a selection thing we did?
This is called the outliner, and this can show you everything in your scene, you know, from groups, things that you've selected, sequences, and layers. This is a handy part where you can get kind of an overall view of your scene. And let me just,
The dope sheet's really for manipulating groups of keyframes all at once.
here, yeah, this allows you to do that here, is that what you mean?
Well, yeah, there. Also in Maya and also in Lightwave, I know that.
Yes. Oh, the dope sheet.
The dope sheet, yeah.
Yes.
Whereas the graph editor, similar to the dope sheet, but allows you to work, change interpolations between individual keyframes for individual aspects. It's more the microscope, and this is more the macroscope, if you will.
Right. Okay. So now I'm just going to select these 3 things to see how we did on the weight thing. Up. Ouch. That looks painful, doesn't it? So what I'm going to do is that's what's fun about the weight thing, I think, is this part. When you first do it, you panic and go, dear God, what have I done? And then you realize, hey, this is kind of fun. So I'm going to, let's try this. So it looks like this should go with this bone. It looks like this should probably go with this bone. And it looks like that should probably go. That should go with the body or the leg?
Where's the other side?
A leg.
Yep, you're right. Nice. Okay. So now,
Did you say if you work Be ashamed to get this far, not see a tap dance.
oh, I'll see. Okay, so now we've got it rigged. Well, let me put it back down on the ground. We've got it rigged. I was thinking that we maybe make him jump. Oh, by the way, the display card on this laptop sucks, so sorry about that.
So overlapping buttons is not.
Not a feature, no. That's right, it's not a bug, it's a feature. Okay, so, we've got this little guy, let's make him do something. We've already got our keyframes on frame 1. I'm gonna go 10 frames up.